transition over. All right, here we go. Now we're in business. Joe, welcome back. I feel like it's been 5 ever since last we spoke. How you doing tonight?
Good, man. How are you?
Oh, man, I can't complain. It wouldn't do any good. So I just wanted to say real quick, I actually kind of did a little brief introduction earlier, but I want to give you a proper one now that we're in. Ladies and gentlemen, MBs, all my people out there, just in case you didn't know what we came here for, we got a special guest in the building, Joe Casey. Some of you probably already know Joe just from his overall body of work, but you probably know him from obviously I think the most obvious elephant in the room. You probably heard of this little animated series, maybe a couple of different animated series, probably from your childhood, most likely. Maybe you might have heard of him. Co-creator of Ben 10 and Generator Rex with Man of Action. Probably one of my earliest introductions was, I would actually dare say, was your what was it, Wildcats series. You've done stuff for tons of books for Image, tons of books for Marvel, DC. Some people might remember your Hulk, your Iron Man. You've done Avengers. You've also done X-Men. And Cable. I think you had a pretty good long run on Cable. And you've also done a lot of creator-owned work between was it Officer Down and was it Butcher Baker and Junior Baker? So like I said, you've been all over the place, but you have found your and also just in case, because I think everyone should be checking this out as well. You're also doing stuff over at Dynamite with Johnny Quest, and which I think it's still pretty early into his run, but you need to go get on that if you haven't done so already. And also Blood Squad. I can't forget this. Blood Squad 7, which is fantastic over at Image. Make sure you go check that one out too. And I think it was and you also did Kneel Before Zod over at DC. So like I said, man, you've been all over the place lately.
Yeah, been a hell of a year, man.
I guess because I don't know if we got to dig too much in this before, but so doing comics for going back to that time frame, like I think Cable was back in was it 98, 99 or somewhere around like almost the end of the decade. And oh man, you had it. Like I said, I don't remember the exact issue count, but I remember you did at least a solid 20 some odd issues or more of it. And you probably are responsible for a lot of people's perceptions of Cable to this day. But you have found yourself back in the X-Men arena. And you needed to be back. You need to be back. We need you here for this one. But how did that all come together?
Well, the past couple of years, I've gotten back into comics in a big way in terms of mainstream work. I've been doing Image books for the past 15 years pretty regularly, but not a lot of what we call mainstream work. I did little projects here and there, and for some reason, coming out of the pandemic, I kind of got sucked back into it a little bit. And I was doing work for DC, and I was having lunch with Jerry Duggan, and this was a year and a half ago, and he was coming up. He was seeing the end of his run in the road ahead. They were sort of gearing up to wrap up the whole Krakoan era of the X books. At the time, they had nothing to come after it. They didn't have any plans or anything like that. It was a pretty wide open field. And he said, "Hey, you should talk to the editor over there and see what's going on." I was like, "Well, all right." It was just kooky enough to sound appealing at that moment. And he put me in touch with Jordan White, an editor I did not know, I hadn't met before. And Jordan was very open and said, hey, if you got ideas, let's hear them. And this was one of the ideas that I had. And he liked it right away. And then some strange things happened in the editorial office over there. And somehow this still made it through, which I'm happy about. So now here I am back again.
Well, I honestly, I'm happy to see it because I actually following you on Substack, which by the way, there's a link down below for y'all.
Yeah.
Go check out the Substack because like I said, there's a lot of insight over there. So y'all might want to go take a look. Yeah. But you had kind of put me on game with something. I guess I never really thought much of it, but like I actually was going back and looking into some of the a lot of your other previous X work. Like you had done some stuff. I can't remember if it fell under the banner. I think it fell under the banner of Uncanny X-Men. It was like I think it was like one of the like X Corp arcs, and there was a bunch of other stuff in there. And I was like, oh man, I was like, you know what? I was like, man, I slick forgot about these stories. So, I was like, yeah, we need this. We need this injection of of this back into the main stuff. I was like, I can't wait to see what you're gonna do with it. But so the book in question that we're gonna be taking a look at is Weapon X-Men. And when I was reading your Substack, you had posted a story talking about how has this not been a thing before? So I'm curious to know, like, what was your like how did it come to mind? The title Weapon X-Men.
Well, when 20 years ago, when I was doing mainstream comics pretty much as my main job, before I got into animation, before Ben 10, before all that, I was a mainstream comic book writer. But I had this weird tendency, like I would say 80% of the time, if you gave me a straight ahead commercial mainstream character like Superman or the X-Men, or there was something in me that was like, I'm going to subvert this a little bit. I'm going to kind of do a left of center take on this material, which was not always the most commercial choice. But I was young and I was like, I want to do this. It was very punk rock with me to kind of take Superman and write him for a year where he didn't punch anything. Or take the X-Men. I mean, I was writing Uncanny X-Men when Grant Morrison was doing New X-Men. We both came in together. So there was a kind of an upsetting the apple cart vibe in the air anyway.
Right.
So it was fun, and it certainly was distinctive. I don't know how well it did for my career, my commercial prospects as a career writer. So when I came back in the last couple of years doing these mainstream projects, it was a very conscious choice to do something that I thought might be more commercial, more sort of a line drive up the middle. So, especially with the X-Men, which is still a huge franchise, and I was thinking about what hasn't been done, because everything's been done with the X-Men. I mean, and with the Krakoan thing just ending, everything's been done, it seems like. And this title just came to me, and I just thought, my God, I cannot believe that all the juice they've squeezed out of this franchise, and no one ever thought of this title to use anywhere. So it was almost like I had to go for it just for that reason alone. It's like, why do you climb the mountain? Well, it's there. So came up with the name, and I thought, well, okay, so that's a pretty commercial name. Now, how do I stack the deck? Well, Weapon X-Men, it sort of lends itself to Wolverine, Deadpool. Then I thought, well, let me bring in Cable because I hadn't written that character in 20 odd years.
Mm.
And those characters those three had all worked together and been seen together. Like Cable and Deadpool had their own series about 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Wolverine and Deadpool have kind of, married now, basically, in pop culture.
Right.
So I just thought, well, but the three of them have never worked together in a real structured team setting. And I'm a big fan of team books. I grew up on the Avengers and Justice League and Fantastic Four. I mean, that's my wheelhouse, team books.
Mm.
So it all kind of coalesced, and as it didn't change too much development wise from the initial thing that I pitched to what the book actually is. A couple of characters got swapped out. Chamber was in the original pitch.
Okay.
Thunderbird was not. Thunderbird was a later addition.
Really? Okay. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So quick kind of interjection. I'm curious, like if you're allowed to say, can you say like who would have been there beforehand?
Well, in an upcoming Substack newsletter, I do go through the choices that I had. So I think maybe in a week or two, that newsletter will go out, and it'll have all the characters that I thought of, that I considered, that I tried to get. But the thing that feels good is that Thunderbird was ultimately the right choice.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one that fit. He has a storyline that really works with the overall story that I'm telling. He's got a personal story that really fits. And he's a very specific link to the X-Men that I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
Because, if you think about it, he's famous for having died on their first mission. The all new, all different X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy that died on the first mission. And in the Krakoan era, where they were able to bring people back, they brought him back. So here's a character that basically has missed all of the history of the X-Men, the new X-Men from 1975 till now, basically. All the classic storylines, from the Dark Phoenix saga to Days of Future Past, the Age of Apocalypse, all those things. He missed all of it. And so it's interesting to take a character like that, who he's almost like there's sort of like a Captain America Man Out of Time vibe to this guy. He's still got a chip on his shoulder, still pissed off and angry about his lot in life. And he's still kind of butts heads with Wolverine, but Wolverine's had the 30 years of history since then.
Right.
I'm no 30. What am I talking about? 45 years of history?
Yeah.
So Wolverine's had all these experiences that Thunderbird has not had. So to put those two characters in the same room together, there was a good character dynamic there that's really has really played out as I've been writing the series. And that's that's what you want out of not just an X-Men book, but out of a team book, is character dynamic, the interplay between these guys, how they bounce off of each other. That's the fun of a team book, So despite as you'll see in the newsletter, the frustration that I went through to get to Thunderbird, once we got him, I was like, well, this is the right choice. This was the right choice all along.
And I see actually have I have like question sections from our chat for later, but this is actually one's too juicy to not to ask, since we're kind of already right here talking about it. With the inclusion of Thunderbird, like was it something that came to you, or or was it like a suggestion from Tom, or like just how, like was it just pop up out of the ether, just like, this is the guy?
No, well, what happened was I was going through my other choices and talking to other people about it, other writers, and I was talking to Steve Orlando.
Okay, yeah.
I've known since he popped out of the womb, it seems. I've known him forever. Since he was a kid, I've known Steve Orlando.
Steve's great.
Yeah. And he mentioned to me that Thunderbird had been resurrected on Krakoa, and that he'd actually done this one shot that he'd written, which he sent to me, and I was like, well, this is perfect. So I had no idea that he'd been brought back, but he'd been brought back, and aside from a couple of minor appearances here and there, he was completely, very untapped potential.
Mm-hmm.
So as a writer, you're always looking for, he's not a blank slate, but he doesn't have the baggage that, an X-Men character who's been around for the past 40 years tends to have.
Right.
And yet he's still a classic character. So it was like the best of both worlds.
The one that actually caught me off guard, and I guess I was like, man, I've not seen this guy in, I don't think anything really. And it was Chamber.
Yeah.
When I saw that you had included Chamber in the team, and the fact that you said that he was on, like, from the word go was also of interest to me, because I was like, man, no one really like puts any respect on Chamber's name.
Well, the thing is,
Yeah.
the two things about Chamber. One is that I wrote him, I put him in my Uncanny X-Men team back in the day. And the thing about Chamber is, as a mutant character, to me, he's like the visually the signature character from the Generation X series from the 90s, the LaBelle Baccello series, because he's so, it's like the ultimate stigma visually of being a mutant. His lower half of his face got blown out, his chest blown out. He can't, I mean, yes, he can put the stupid scarf around him and stuff, but I never liked that look. I like him sort of out and proud.
Right.
He's like a signature 90s mutant character. And I think you're right. I mean, after his initial run in Generation X, people didn't know what to do with him. He got depowered at one point, and then he got brought back, and all this kind of nonsense. And he's just a very distinctive character with a distinctive point of view. And now his place on the team is very much taking in that history, which is he's been on different teams before, different iterations of the X-Men, and he's just not found his place yet. And here's a chance for him to find his place. So that's kind of where he's coming from. Is he's very dubious that he's going to fit in here either. But hopefully, this one will be a more long-term situation.
I hope so. It's kind of wild how that has played out, because actually thinking back to it, outside of like little minor appearances here or there, I think the last time I think I saw him in anything where he was like actually front and center was like, I think just a little bit before all the House of X and Krakoa stuff had kicked off, and it was kind of like, all right, I'm in, all right, okay, I'm out. Never to be seen or heard from again. So, and thinking back, I was like, oh yeah, and I think someone else was brought up here in the chat that you're probably one of the only people who actually tries to include Chamber in anything and actually do something with the character. And I guess it's something that I've noticed with a lot of people, writing, different X books, is that, and everybody has their favorite characters. And of course, there's the characters that, I guess realistically speaking, are going to sell the book. Like, if you put Wolverine in a book, it's a high chance, people are going to pick it up. You put like Storm or Nightcrawler, like Gambit, any of like the very recognizable X-Men. I mean, yeah, of course, people are going to see their favorites, but, you've got Wolverine, you've got Deadpool, you've got Cable, you got Chamber, we got Thunderbird. Man, how much of a fight was it to not want to put every single one of your favorite characters in the book? Like, was there like a hard rule on how many people could be a part of the team, or like, do you set like limits on yourself or anything like that?
Well, for the X-Men, I tend to feel like there's a certain number of X-Men that work on a team historically. I mean, you just got to go back to the original team, the original team from the 60s, 5 characters. The classic Claremont Byrne era is really, when you get down to it, it's 5 characters. Cyclops, Storm, Wolverine, Colossus, Nightcrawler. Those were the core 5. Even Grant's new X-Men was 5 characters. Cyclops, Jean Grey, Beast, Wolverine, Emma Frost. So there's a real dynamic there that's kind of worked historically. The Avengers will always work with the 7 membership, 7-member team. The X-Men kind of work best with a 5. When there's more than 5, it can still work, but it can get unwieldy. Because X-Men, X books are known to go deeper into character. So if you have too many characters, you can't go as deep as you want with all of them. So 5 was kind of the magic number, I realized. So if that's a good luck charm for this book, then even better.
I mean,
but it's a formula in its own way, and I'm just trying to stick to the formula.
Well, I mean, just you saying that out loud, I honestly, I never really ever thought about that before. The fact that, you think about the most iconic X-Men lineups. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, 5. It's like I'm going back and thinking through my head, like, yeah, it's cool when there's like, 8, or whatever, 9 characters. But then, stuff does get kind of lost in translation. Or characters, there's always going to be certain characters that'll probably wind up being at the back of the line when it comes to getting development. So 5 actually, that is actually that's actually the perfect number. It's actually the perfect number for him. So at this point, you're bringing in you're bringing back, like, one of the first characters that you worked on in mainstream comics, to be a part of the team. Man, what is it like to especially with all the craziness that has happened with Cable over the past couple of decades? How did it feel to like jump back in and be working with Cable, since your initial run with the character?
It was bizarre because I never thought I would write him again. To be honest. And again, on the commercial side of this whole project, I might not have considered him, except that he's been connected to Deadpool quite a bit. Not just the series that they shared, back in the aughts, but the fact that Josh Brolin played him in Deadpool 2. So he's a movie star.
Yep.
Again, from a strictly crassly commercial angle, that qualified him as far as I'm concerned. So now once I decided on that, I thought, well, here's something else that I've never done really, which is I've never come back to a character and been able to. I like Easter eggs and callbacks to old stories. Well, now I can Easter egg my own stuff, which I've never really done before to any great degree. Anybody who read my Cable run back in the 90s and remember it at all, there's some callbacks to that run that are pretty cool.
I do want to also I mentioned earlier that there are some links below to some of your other works. 2 of the links that are down there are exactly that. There are links down below to 2 of the collected editions of your Cable run. I believe it's the Hellfire Hunt and the Nemesis Contract that are both down below. So you guys might want to go check those out. A little homework for y'all. Yeah, just putting that out there. It's
good stuff. The art's great. It's I'm still proud of that work.
I thought it was, well, once again, when your Cable run was coming out, man, I'm about to date myself. I think I was kind of on the verge of coming out of high school. So like it kind of stuck out to me because like, you're kind of getting close to that turn of the decade, turn of the century or whatever. Yeah. And everything back then was just wild and wacky and zany, and I guess one of the key words was always extreme. But like I always felt like Cable fell into those categories without being like not without being silly. There's wild stuff happening, but like it always felt like, okay, this makes sense for Cable. Yeah. I can run with this.
Well, the luckiest break of my career breaking in was that I worked with Ladrone, the artist Ladrone.
Right.
And Ladrone was like another level of artist compared to what was out at the time. He was not born of that image 90s vibe. He was not of the McFarlane, Liefeld, Jim Lee school. He was Jack Kirby meets Mobius.
Yeah.
And, at the time it was quite a different vibe than most Marvel readers were used to. And I think it was a little more than some of them could handle at the time. History's been very kind to Ladrone, as it should be. He's a genius and a fantastic artist. And but that was again one of my. It made that run a lot more distinct, and it made it its own flavor in the rest of the Marvel output at that time. Which again, when you're just breaking in, and I was brand new, Ladrone was brand new. We just wanted to prove ourselves, and we took that title and we took it to the mountain. We took it as far as we could possibly take it. So, yeah. So with Weapon X-Men, there's definitely there's very specific callbacks that I wouldn't have made if it weren't for the work that I did with Ladrone on that title.
Okay, all right. Well, I will say this: I love the tagline of the book. It's one of those things that I always like the vibe that it's giving. The they're gonna save the world if they don't if they don't kill each other first.
Yeah.
Because there are some unique relationships out there between a lot of the characters you kind of alluded to. One of the things I actually kind of thought about, and I don't know if this will factor into it any at all, but I remember in during the Krakoan era, because Thunderbird was freshly back on the scene, but I remember reading Al Ewing's X-Men Red.
Yep.
And never really thinking about it until actually reading it. I was like, wow, Thunderbird's never met Cable before. Like, so, and a lot of these characters, he's not had any interactions with, outside of, Wolverine, or like in any significant level that, we as readers would be familiar with. And I like the idea of, everyone's going to be kind of, it's going to be, I'm almost positive everyone to some degree or another is going to be, getting on Thunderbird's nerves, because he was usually always like a guy that was not really for any shenanigans of any kind. Pretty sure Deadpool will get on everybody's nerves. He'll definitely get on Wolverine's. He'll definitely get on Cable's. But then also, just the idea of, there's this, major threat that's going on. And I was curious, without, giving anything away, we don't want to spoil anything, but like, to have a threat that is big enough to bring, all five of these characters together like this, and to where they're going to have to like, put their, grievances with each other, or whatever they may be, aside, for like, can you give us a tease as to what is bringing this group together?
Well, it's, there is a bigger macro story going on, but not all of them know it yet. In fact, there's sort of a thread that runs the first batch of issues, is them saying, well, why are we doing this? Well, how is this? And it's actually Cable who's like, this is supposed to happen. These specific individuals are meant to come together in this way. So he kind of has, he's a time traveler, so he's got a bit of a wider perspective on things. So he kind of knows the score. And, for Chamber, it's like, okay, if you say so. And Thunderbird's on his own trip. So, but there is an effort to maintain this unit for something that's going to happen down the line. But I mean, I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah,
it's not random, because they're, like you say, their personalities, once they get together, even if it was for one mission, their personalities were such that they'd be like, okay, that's done. Everybody can, just, buzz off now.
It's like, lose my
But
number.
yeah, exactly. Right. Totally. Absolutely. But Cable has a vested interest in keeping these guys together.
Mhm.
So that'll hopefully play out as the series goes on.
And I know, there's also, because next year is gonna be, it's already kind of been stated it's gonna be the year of Doctor Doom,
Yeah.
with the One World Under Doom story arc that's gonna be running throughout would dare say a fair solid chunk of 2025. I think some of the solicits that have come out over the past like month or so, have been kind of showing off that he's gonna have his fingers in a lot of pies across the Marvel Comics line, and I know that it'll probably be safe to say that you'll get to mess around with some Doctor Doom shenanigans at some point in this. One of the things that is, as far as like recent developments go, is and I don't know how much you can say about it, but I know that there's been some changes with Wolverine. I think just as the most recent issue that just came out. I don't know how much it's gonna have any bearing on what you're doing, but I was looking when I was looking at the solicits, I did notice the one thing you don't see too terribly much of, at least not with any color to it, is Wolverine's claws. Or is any of the stuff that's going on with Saladin's Wolverine run, is it going to have any like bearing or effect on what you're doing?
I mean, I keep up with everything that's going on, but the short answer is no.
Okay.
You know, that was the other thing about this book that I was pretty adamant about, is that I want these characters, unless it's something really major,
Hmm.
like a real earth-shattering change in somebody's status quo, I want to present these characters in their sort of classic iterations.
Hmm.
So, and there's so many X books, and there's so many books like Wolverine appears in,
Yeah.
that you got to kind of play fast and loose with this stuff. Otherwise you're just going to go insane.
Yeah.
And
Wolverine's like Batman for Marvel. Like
Yeah.
he's everywhere.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the thing is, Wolverine and Deadpool, it seems like now they've each got like kids and all cousins and stepchild, weird uncles. I mean, they're families in and of themselves. But
Mhm.
I'm not, that stuff's none of my business. I just, if it sells comics, great, but I'm interested in a more iconic kind of approach to this stuff.
I mean, I respect it. I respect it because I think that's I feel like to write, and I guess it's kind of as a good lean into one of my next questions is, being back in the saddle of writing, mainstream comics where like, yeah, there's like you've got your title, but there's also like, anywhere between 10 to 20 other titles that are, kind of in the same corner of things. Like, having been, doing a lot of creator own where you just kind of do your own thing, the story is yours to tell. Like, was there any, oh man, like, I guess, was there any like hesitance to get back into that style of storytelling where you're not necessarily saying you have to like look out for what everyone else is doing, but where I guess like for some people there might be that expectation. I know there's always the canon lawyers out there and whatnot, but like was there any hesitance on your part to have to deal with
Not
that
really.
again?
Not really. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I mean, I I'd love that stuff as a
Mm,
fan. I mean, I grew up with diving into the continuities of these, fictional universes, Marvel universe, DC universe. It's If you've been reading comics long enough and from a young enough age, it's kind of baked into your DNA. So
mm,
I'm not afraid of that stuff. It's when The danger is when those things get in the way of a good story,
Mm.
which can occasionally happen, but not often, because it's when you're writing in these shared universes, it's your job to make it work. It's your job to, it's not even make lemonade out of lemons. It's just, that's what you're signing up for, is to be a part of a bigger construct.
Mm.
And, you got to embrace it, and, luckily, I mean, Tom Brevoort's, been around longer than most. If everybody, I mean, I think Tom might be the longest tenured editor at Marvel now. That
Yeah.
So he's pretty dependable when it comes to flagging things that are going to, contradict other things that are going on, or whatever. I mean, he's got the 30,000 foot view of things. So if something came along that I thought was a challenge, I'd be more inclined to lean into the challenge than to try to sidestep it somehow, But then again, they haven't come to me and said, "Hey, can you put in Deadpool's daughter or whatever?"
Oh yeah.
That hasn't happened yet, thankfully. So I haven't really had to confront anything that made me kind of go, God.
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny too, because I feel like, comics, they are, by and large, there's a lot of interconnectivity. But man, if every writer had to, well, there's this thing that's going on in comic, G over here that also is, tied to a thing that happened in comic J over there, and my comic kind of intersects somewhere in the middle of that, and but I also got to keep out for plot B that was going on in comic F, like it doesn't. I could easily see where it would kind of hamper the the overall, I guess, experience of what it is you're trying to do. Like, it's I wouldn't wish it on anyone, actually.
Well,
So yeah,
it is part of the gig, and if you can come at it with an attitude of it as an opportunity to have some fun, then it's not so bad. It's always, and again, if something, I mean, the idea of Doctor Doom taking over the world or whatever is a cool idea. It's an idea that has teeth and you can find a lot of ways into that idea. Now, having said that, I don't know if I would. I'd be misleading people if I told them that Doctor Doom was going to show up in Weapon X-Men. Having said that, they do go to Latveria in the first issue.
Okay.
But it's for a sort of unrelated reason.
Okay.
But we do acknowledge what's going on in the Marvel universe at that moment. So it's, to me, it's I know how to make it seem like the best of both worlds.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it does, and that's another thing too. Like, if it doesn't make sense for Doctor Doom to be like a major part of the book, I mean, it would be worse if you did try and shoehorn him, in some inorganic way. So it's like, yeah, right. I think it's just one of those things. The canon lawyers, they'll be all right. They'll be okay. Yeah. We're not worried about them.
Listen, canon lawyers is my new favorite term, by the way. I'm going to be using that for the rest of my life. But I love those guys too, because I mean, you really, to take that stance of being, upset or agitated by something that's not quite fitting the way you think it should fit. That's great. I love that kind of energy. That's part of the beauty of comic book fandom, is to be that into it, that you're going to get really jacked up about something that's, completely ridiculous. But, on the one hand, it's not ridiculous because it means something to some people. So that's cool.
Well, yeah, it's as long as you keep the vibes totally normal. I actually, I don't mind it as much. It's just it's when it gets out of hand, people get people start showing up at people's houses and
Yeah.
calling their phones. I'm like, all right. I was like, everybody calm down. It's just comic books.
The trick to these things is always, no matter what the event is, as long as the characters you're writing, if those characters stay true to themselves, those stories tend to write themselves. You know, how would character X respond to event Y, based on who that character is and based on what that event is. That's where you can get creative, and so I think it's when characters are seemingly out of character to fit the event that's going on, is when people get really out of joint. I would too. If my favorite character suddenly wasn't acting like themselves to accommodate this bigger storyline, I might get a little upset about that too.
Yeah, I've been that guy before. I've been that guy before, at least a time or two.
Because you feel like these characters, and when you don't recognize them suddenly, you're like, what the hell, man?
It's like, well, why is suddenly this character who's normally pretty level-headed and by all accounts not an asshole suddenly being like a raging asshole who is not very level-headed at all and is just acting a whole fool right now. It's like I've seen it a few, like it's one of those things. I guess for reading a lot, a lot of Big Two comics, since I was a little kid, like I guess it's something I've almost kind of become almost not immune to, but I'm definitely resistant to it. But like it can still be a little jarring.
Yeah. I think if you stay true to the character, I don't think you can go wrong, no matter what the story is. And these long running characters that have been around for decades and decades, it's all right there. You just have to tap into who that character is when you're writing it, and the rest kind of takes care of itself.
Well, one thing I do want to say, because we got I actually want to give everyone in the chat, and not everyone will be here all day, but give some people in the chat an opportunity to ask some questions. I think I actually see some in here as we speak, but the so this is one that I think I just pulled up here, but so let me see here. I'm pulls one up. Mountains, or I think that's how you say that. It says, sorry if this was mentioned earlier, just came back to the live stream, but will this be an ongoing or a mini series?
It's ongoing. I mean, I hope it lasts and lasts and goes and goes and goes. If people don't buy it, it will not go and go and go. One thing about this industry right now, it's pretty cutthroat.
Yes.
If something doesn't sell, it's out of there. But I'm pretty confident that this thing has legs, and hopefully people will key into it for all kinds of reasons. Again, the beauty of a team book is that there's a lot of ways into it. All the characters that are involved, and we're feeling pretty good about it. Feeling pretty confident that we'll have a nice long one.
I just to kind of back you up on this one. I say this all the time, y'all. It's I feel like I should almost have it tattooed on my forehead. Yeah, if you are a person who is sitting here right now saying to yourself, man, dude, the idea of a team book with Wolverine and Cable and Thunderbird, Deadpool, Chamber, like that sounds like a really fun book. I'm gonna tell you what you do. I'm not saying do it now, because depending on where you are, your LCS is probably closed right now. But tomorrow morning, first thing, go to your friendly LCS and say, hey, can that Weapon X-Men book that that book, can you get that in my pull box? Because pull boxes, they are, for the uninitiated, they are a way to basically, it's a way to let a shop owner know how many books to order. And companies look at that number And some of you probably saw how much I lamented the cancellation of Avengers Incorporated. I think after it only had 2 issues out. How I've often lamented the cancellation of Ed Brisson's Ghost Rider run when it was what I was really enjoying it, but apparently no one was, reading it quite like I was. Yeah, those things don't happen. I'm not gonna say it's impossible to happen, but a Marvel or DC or Boom or Image, they are way less likely to cancel a book if people are buying it. So I'm gonna put that out there.
Doesn't get any simpler than that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like if they cancel a book that's selling, then you need to ask some other questions. There's something else going on. But if a book is selling really well, yeah, it's gonna keep coming back. I like to use Poison Ivy right now at DC as an example, a book that I don't think was supposed to go past like 10 or 12 issues, and it's on almost issue 30 now because people were buying it. So there you go. So yeah, go get this one.
All you gotta
do. Let's see. I'm gonna roll back here just a little bit, and let's see here. I think I see some other ones up here. I think some of these I could probably honestly kind of give y'all an answer just myself, just because I know that we've already. I don't think we can. Some of these things we can't give away. Some of these we can't give away just yet. You're gonna have to read the book to see. But I guess there's gonna be a question for me, and this is actually unrelated. Recently there were some announcements. I think it was I think it was NYCC. I think it was. Or it might have been San Diego Comic-Con. I don't honestly remember. I've slept since then. There were some announcements about a bunch of new comics that were going to be coming out at Dynamite. And I think one of them, this could be a fever dream. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe one of them was Ben 10.
Yeah, they got the license for Ben 10 to do Ben 10 comics.
Now, I know they have not officially stated the creative, because I think there were a lot of comics that got announced, but I think only 1 or 2 of them actually had creative teams announced, and I think that was Herculoids, I believe. But no creative team I think has been announced yet for Ben 10. But I guess so. The question now is, what are the odds that it will be you?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily want to give odds, but I would say anything is possible.
All right. I will say, if you don't want to incriminate yourself, just blink. Just blink.
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
I'm blinking. You can't see. I'm blinking.
Yeah, no, that was. But no, I was curious about it just because I know when we had talked last time, you had talked about like it might be around that time, because Ben 10 kind of comes in, does his thing, makes all the money. It's like, all right, let's take a chill pill for a little bit, come back later, and you were like, oh, okay, it might be that time, and I was like, But no, with that, we got another one here. This is actually right here. This was from Phantom Brawler. It says, with your previous work in animation, would you be interested for your series to be adapted into animation? I don't know if they're talking about this one or any other ones you got going on right now, but because you have a lot of irons in the fire currently, but I would definitely be interested.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first thing that I've done for Marvel that's been translated into other media.
True.
So, I mean, on the one hand, it'd be great because then I try to build these things, even when I'm doing work for hire. So I try to build things that will last and that have a life beyond what I do for them. And Weapon X-Men, it's to have Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman and Josh Brolin in a movie together wouldn't be I don't think it'd be a loser. You know what I'm saying?
Nah. Nah, I think it would do pretty damn well.
Not too bad, yeah.
Oh, and I would also even dare say too. I don't know if the bean counters at whatever streaming service or production company or ever listening in, but I wouldn't be mad at a Blood Squad 7. I wouldn't be mad at Blood Squad 7. Maybe maybe I don't know. Just saying, just putting that out there.
I wouldn't turn that down at all. That'd be great.
Which, by the way, I think the trade for that. I think the first trade for that. I think was it just this past week or a couple of weeks ago just dropped? So yeah, if you haven't done, go check that out if y'all haven't done it. There is a link below for that. I came prepared. I got this one is one that I think is a pretty interesting one. This is from Omega Cerebro. It says, how do you differentiate Thunderbird's function from Wolverine's when Wolverine is the best there is of what they both do, with the exception of super strength? Like, yeah, I'm curious. Like,
well, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. The difference is now they have different histories. They have different experiences. When they first met each other, they were both brand new on the X-Men, and they were Thunderbird was slightly redundant in the attitude department. But now, Wolverine's got, I mean, in comic book time, who knows, but in publishing time, 40 years on Thunderbird, and has been through a lot and has grown as a character, as a person. He's not the Wolverine that Thunderbird first met. So that's the difference right there. That's in terms of how I'm writing them. They're not, their personalities are nowhere near redundant anymore. They're not anywhere near each other. If anything, Thunderbird has more of a chip on his shoulder than he did before, if that's possible, but it is possible. Wolverine's seen a lot more, and I wouldn't say he's mellowed, but he has a different perspective than he did when, Thunderbird knew him. So that's the difference right there. And power sets are, that's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But it's really their personalities that where the main difference is.
I'm just really curious to just because of the beef that Thunderbird and Cyclops always have with each other. I'm just more curious to see how well or not well Thunderbird and Cable get along.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, without giving anything away, Thunderbird's perception of his own situation, what happened to him now that he's back, everything he missed. It's what drives him in this first set of issues. It's what he's really trying to reconcile, the fact that he missed so much, and that it's like he never got off the bench, and he didn't get his time in the spotlight. He didn't get his time to shine, and it really weighs on him. So his first sort of order of business is trying to do something about that, to try to change things for himself for the better. And it takes us, through the first half year of stories, really. His motivation is right there. And it really, I mean, it's why they're in Latveria in the first issue, but it carries on from there. And the way he tries to deal with his own angst is wild. It's so wild. And I've been writing the script for issue 5 just this past week, and it is insane how he tries to make it work for himself. It's going to be very cool though.
I'm excited to see it just because I always felt like Thunderbird always got the short end of the stick when it came to X-Men characters. Just across the long history of it, and seeing him back is also I was actually really happy to see him back in his original costume too, just because I always dug that one.
Yeah,
Um,
let me say something about that too, because I love it too. I think his original costume, the Dave Cockrum designed costume, is great.
mhm,
When they brought him back, they put him in an updated,
mhm,
more maybe culturally appropriate
mhm,
uniform, which I
mhm,
totally get. So we're not trying to
mhm.
shit on that in any way. There's
Yeah.
a specific reason why he goes back to the original uniform, a very specific reason, which will
Mhm,
play out in the series. So it wasn't an arbitrary decision to take him out of the new costume and put him in the
mhm.
old one. It serves a story function.
Yeah. Which that is some, because I think I remember at the time, when it happened, I was like, the thing that I actually, the only thing I found confusing about it was that I was like, okay, are we like, but now he's gone. Okay, so like, I was like, now what? Now what do we do with this? We got it. We got Thunderbird back. We got him in a new costume, and I like the costume, but just I still really like the old one. But like it made me sad that it was like, oh, he came back and there's a whole big deal, and I was like, well, now he's gone. Uh, so I'm glad that you
Yeah,
brought him back.
from an aesthetic point of view, I'm always going to try to lean into the icon of it all, the iconography of it, and whatever of its time it is. From a
Mhm.
design point of view, just a straight up design point of view, it's hard to beat Dave Cockrum when it comes to costume design.
Oh, 100%. It's a. I mean, honestly, I think as it stands, y- you're not going to see much better in the way of classic character designs. Like those
Yeah,
designs, they stood the test of time. I mean, there's a reason that like ever so often we see those characters go back to them,
yeah,
and it's because they work. They
yeah.
work. So I mean, we're saying, oh, I'm here for it. Yeah, I'm always here for it. I'm always a sucker for a classic costume. So,
So am I. So am I.
well, I just want to say thank you, Joe, for taking the time to sit down, chit chat with me about this book. I'm gonna say it again for anyone that just might have happened to just now be tuning in. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the date is going to be this coming February.
Yep.
I want to say, I think it's February 19th, 2025. I might be,
I think that's right. I think that's right.
okay. I'm double. Let me check my notes. Yes, that is it. That is the time. That is the date. Go march into your friendly LCS, first chance you get. As a matter of fact, I know a lot of you will be heading that way this week. So while you're going in, picking up your books, all that good stuff. Make sure that you go when you're at the counter. You're getting your purchase. Make sure you say, hey, can you put? As a matter of fact, it is this book right here. Can you put that book right there in my pull box? And I promise you, you will not be disappointed. This book is going to be something pretty special, I think. It's well, obviously Joe's a great writer. I've literally said before, there's a whole body of work in the description below that is proof positive of that. So make sure y'all go if you want to know more. If for whatever reason somehow you're unfamiliar with Joe's work, or if for whatever reason you just didn't know about a certain piece of work that Joe has worked on, there's several. I think I might have put somewhere in the neighborhood of close to 10 different books in there that
Wow.
are all great. So,
Oh, thanks, man.
oh no, anytime. Hey, it is the least I can do. So I will, and I'll also, of course, y'all know me. I'll be talking about the book on the channel as well. I'll be looking forward to when it drops in February.
That I can't wait for, because I love your reviews, man. It's fantastic. I can't
Well,
wait to tear into mine. It's going to be
oh
great.
no. Well, now see what'll happen is people will say, "Oh man, Ernie said that he didn't like he didn't like that they went back to the old costume. They'll focus on something crazy like that. They'll be like, and it'll be like, oh, he hated the book. He didn't like the he didn't like the way that Wolverine's mask turned to one side or something like that. That's usually the thing people will say. No one ever focuses on the positive things I say. There's always
Right.
but no, I'm really looking forward. I'm glad it warms my heart to hear that that you're looking forward to my commentary on it as well.
Man, yeah.
Well, I was thank you. Like I said, thank you so much for this, and yeah, I'm sure we'll have you back here soon. Because like I said, the door is wide open. And y'all, please, once again, LCS, ask for Weapon X-Men. Tell them to make yours Weapon X-Men. Make sure you check out those books down below. And that's the show. Good night, everybody. And until next time. I guess what's today? Today is Monday. I will be back this Thursday for Nerds of Culture, and then I'll see you guys later this Saturday as well. We are out of here. Peace out, people.